Did you watch the new video? Netanyahu said it was by a mistake. What did he say was about mistake? This dude's always making mistakes, bro. This nigga's always killing innocent people, man. Okay, Israel targeted ambulance and civil defense crews as they are rescuing victims. Bruh. Yo. All right, chat. What I'm about to show you guys is probably going to be pretty graphic here. Okay. Viewer discretion advised, guys.
لا حصل الآن خليك يا الله راح الدفاع المدني قتلوا الناس راح الدفاع المدني قتلوا الناس
قتلوا الناس means he killed the people in Arabic. Wow.
استهداف كبير الآن كما
He said that there was a big explosion.
تشاهدون في هذه الصورة.
And he said I got on video. For those of you that are wondering, remember, guys, Sudan is an Arab-speaking country, so I do understand Arabic. I'm not fluent, but I can speak it and understand it to a degree.
تدمير كبير.
He just said big, which I'm assuming he means big. Kabir means big, so it means probably big explosion.
قصف عنيف جدا.
Obviously, this is fucking terrible. You got aid workers in here trying to help people, and the Israelis fucking bombed them. Guys, this is what they do. This is what they do, bro. This is what they fucking do, guys. Yo, they do this every day, bro. And here's the thing. I'm supposed to be debating Brandon Tatum on this shit. Bro, I think he's ducking the debate. We'll see what happens. Me and him have been going back and forth on Twitter like all week. But, dude, this is absolutely fucking nuts, man. I'm telling you guys this right now. Gaza is red pilling everybody. It really is. It used to be that this was a topic that nobody talked about, nobody knew anything about it. But Israel can't hide its war crimes anymore. Bro, we're watching a genocide in fucking 4K. Bro, they're killing aid workers, bro. They're literally, those guys were there trying to pull people out the fucking rubble and they blew them up. And I'll tell y'all this right now, 20 years from now, we're all going to be like, holy shit, we witnessed that. We witnessed a real-time genocide, bro. And at this point, just so you guys know, it's irrefutable that it's a genocide. Anyone that tries to sit there and tell you that it's not a genocide is a fucking idiot. Almost every genocide expert unequivocally has been saying what's going on in Gaza is, by definition, textbook genocide. You don't need to eliminate the people within one day like dumbass Netanyahu says for it to be a genocide. Or some other IDF idiot that told me that the population went up. It actually didn't. It actually didn't.
Latest Israeli attack on a Gaza hospital. Well, dual strikes on the Nasser medical complex in Khan Yunis killed at least 20 people, including journalists, according to Gaza health officials. This video showing the chaos in the aftermath of the first strike. Now, the IDF claiming it, quote, does not target journalists as such, and saying the military chief has instructed an inquiry into the attack. Israel also striking targets in Yemen after Houthi rebels there fired.
Yeah, so they hit Yemen yesterday because Israel hit Yemen the day before. And I'll quickly refresh your guys' memory here because some of you guys may not be familiar with the Houthis and shit like that. So, aka Ansar Allah. So the Houthis officially knows Ansar Allah is a Zaidi revivalist and Islamic political and military organization that emerged from Yemen in the 1990s. It is predominantly made up of Zaydis, whose namesake leadership is drawn largely from the al-Houthi family. The group has been a central player in Yemen's civil war, drawing widespread international condemnation for its human rights abuses, including targeting civilians and using child soldiers. The movement is designed as designated as a terrorist organization by some countries. The Houthis are backed by Iran, and they are widely considered part of the Iranian-led Axis of Resistance. So, guys, the Axis of Resistance, I've spoken about this before, but the Axis of Resistance, guys, is a group of countries that oppose Israel, okay? So you have Iran, who's the main sponsor, right? Then you got Iraq, and you got the Yemen is down here, right? So the Houthis control western Yemen. And the reason why you can't see here, but there's a waterway here. Let me pull it up on a map for you guys real quick. Give me one sec. And Yemen is a very poor country, one of the poorest countries in the world, and definitely in the Arab world. So you guys can see here, you got the Red Sea, right? And this area here, pretty much, what the Houthis do is, so you got the Axis resistance, right? You got Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and you got the Houthis down here, right? And basically, all of these countries oppose Israel because Israel's trying to take over the Middle East to become the hegemony in the Middle East. So Iran backs a lot of these proxy powers to fight Israel. Now, the Houthis down here, what they do is, since they're so far, right, they shoot rockets into Israel all the time, okay? And then another thing that they do that's unique to other organizations is they pirate ships. So what they'll do is if a ship is involved in trade, right, that affects commerce for Israel, they'll board that ship and destroy it or take it hostage, okay? And this has been very bad for Israel economically, okay? They've had to close a couple of these shipping companies out of Israel. So that's how they've been basically attacking Israel. So you got the Houthis down here, not just sending the rockets at them, but they're also attacking them economically, right? Through their shipping routes. And obviously Iran is the main power that backs them. Now, with the Houthis, the United States ended up getting a ceasefire with them earlier this year. Because if you guys remember, shout out to when Trump first came into office and they had the signal leaks, remember that, guys? With Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth was in there, Mike Waltz, etc. When Mike Waltz leaked the signal conversation, that signal conversation, guys, was pretty much planned airstrikes to attack the Houthis, okay? They spent billions of dollars to attack the Houthis and they couldn't even finish them. So what ended up happening with the Houthis was they were able to strike a ceasefire with the United States, right? The United States basically wanted them to stop attacking cargo ships. And they came to an agreement. And now, because it's very difficult to bomb them, and they were able to avoid most of the striking, and they're still hitting Israel, the Houthis. So they're a very elusive yet effective paramilitary group. And they've been a nuisance to Israel, both financially and with their rockets. A lot of their rockets do get shot down, but the boarding of the cargo ships has been absolutely terrible for Israel economically. So now that you guys kind of know who the Houthis are and their conflict with Israel, they shot missiles into Israel, I think 2 days ago. And then Israel retaliated by hitting Sana'a, which is like their capital, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. You guys know I like to always. Yeah, right in the heart of the Houthis area. Now they control this area mostly, guys, the western part of Yemen. This other side is controlled by another part of the government because the Houthis are not like the official government. They're kind of like a. There's been a war, guys. There's been a whole war in Yemen for a very long time. Saudi Arabia's attacked them. The West has attacked them. It's a very poor country. There's literally a human travesties going on over here all the time. Shout out to Sirach No Diddy with the 5 gifted. Appreciate you, my friend. So, Yemen is a war-torn country.
A new type of missile at Israel. Paula Hancock's following development.
Yes, the MIRV, I believe, is the missile that they shot. Let me see if I could get a video on this for you guys.
And saying the military chief has instructed an inquiry into the attack. Israel also striking targets in Yemen after Houthi rebels there fired a new type of missile at Israel. Paula Hancock's following developments for us here in Abu Dhabi, and she joins me now live. Let's start with the hospital strike. What more do we know about that?
Well, Becky, this was a
Iran's
double strike
missile
by Israel on the Nasser hospital. This is in Khan Yunis. It's in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. Now, we know that after that first strike targeted the 4th floor of the hospital, we understand that there were emergency workers, health workers and journalists who all rushed to the scene. Now, we have footage that we see. It was also played on live television showing those individuals on a damaged staircase trying to retrieve casualties, one holding up a damaged video camera to show the journalists' presence. And then just minutes later, there was a second strike. Now, we understand that this was more deadly than the first, and this is the one that did kill many journalists and emergency workers who were on the scene at the time. At least 4 journalists have been killed. They were really the backbone of.
And just so you guys know, by the way, entropy. What's it called? This war is the most violent war For journalists, most journalists have been killed in this war of all the other wars pretty much combined. This conflict in Gaza has killed more journalists than any other war combined, bro. Fucking ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Of the footage that was coming out of Gaza for a number of international media outlets. One worked for AP, one for Reuters, one for Al Jazeera, another was freelance. As you know, Israel does not allow international journalists into Gaza, so we heavily rely on our Palestinian colleagues to be able to get these images out to us, and 4 have been killed in this particular incident. Now, we also understand from the civil defence that one emergency worker was killed whilst trying to retrieve casualties from the first strike as well. Israel's response has been that they do not target journalists as such. They say that they will have an initial inquiry as soon as possible, also saying that they carried out a strike in the area of Nasser Hospital. So we're waiting to hear more, but certainly this is provoking much condemnation. Becky?
It's good to have you. Thank you very much indeed. Before these latest attacks in Khan Yunis, the United Nations counted more than 240 journalists killed in Gaza since the war began. Jodie Ginsberg is the president of the Connect Journalists, the CPJ. She joins me now from New York. Jodie, today marks another Israeli strike on journalists. 2 weeks ago, it was the strike on prominent Al Jazeera correspondent Anas al-Sharif and his team. Why are we seemingly in this endless loop at this point? And what can be done?
Well, we're in this endless loop because Israel has not been held accountable for any of these killings. This is the deadliest conflict for journalists that CPJ has ever documented. To date, 196 journalists, if we include today's killings, have been killed. 189 of those are Palestinians killed by Israel. And despite the fact that Israel keeps saying it doesn't deliberately target journalists, the evidence is very different.
Yeah, and they killed a journalist last week, guys. They killed a prominent Palestinian journalist and a couple of Al Jazeera journalists, and they said, "Oh yeah, this guy was a member of Hamas. That's why we killed him." Like, bruh.
I wonder what this apparent double tap raises for you. That, of course, is when first responders arrive at the scene of a strike and are struck in much the same spot. And it's oft times when journalists are killed as well, responding to an attack. And we've seen this before, haven't we?
We have. And just to be clear, if it is a double tap, that is considered to be a war crime. This attack, which we believe was deliberately intended to take out the camera being used by Reuters cameraman. He was killed in the first attack. Then, as you say, first responders moved in, including journalists, and they were killed in the second attack. So in both instances, it looks like Israel has committed unlawful killings, war crimes, both in the deliberate killing of the Reuters cameraman and in this so-called double tap attack subsequently.
Is that you believe Israel is giving no independent access to Western journalists at this point. And if you can put into perspective for us just how unprecedented that is and why it is so damaging.
Well, firstly, let's be clear. When we say there's no independent journalism taking place in Gaza, there is independent journalism. There are hundreds of journalists who have been day in, day out reporting what is happening inside Gaza. They happen to be Gazan journalists, Palestinian journalists, in the same way that American journalists report on American politics and the situation in America, or British ones do in the UK. The challenge is the fact that there has been no international access has allowed Israel to perpetuate this narrative that none of the journalists...
They're just starting to let journalists in now a little bit. I know that they let a couple of American influencers that are pro-Israel in. As you guys know, the blonde black dude, that's sus. I know him, and another loser named Cam, Big Easy or some shit like that. They let them in, and they were there at the food distribution sites. So they are slowly starting to let them in. But yeah, for the most part of the war, bro, journalists were not allowed in for obvious reasons.
in Gaza are trustworthy, and therefore their narrative is not to be trusted. What they are documenting, what we are seeing, what we are hearing is not to be trusted. And that is part of a deliberate strategy. That's part of a deliberate strategy to control the narrative on what's happening inside Gaza. The killings of journalists, the targeting of media facilities, the banning of news outlets like Al Jazeera, the sanctioning of independent Israeli outlets like Haaretz is all part of a deliberate strategy to control what we, the international public, is seeing on Gaza.
What happens next?
We've got to see more robust response from the international community. There must be demands for accountability. We heard after the last attack 2 weeks ago on the Al Jazeera news crew, we heard a very clear call from Germany, a traditional ally of Israel, that it wanted an explanation for why.
All right, let's look at these MIRVs real quick, because these are the type of missiles that Iran hit them with.
Iran's MIRV missile strike.
Well, they're Iran missiles, but they came from the Houthis.
Israel in a dangerous development. Israeli sources have revealed that Iran's major attack today employed ballistic missiles with multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, MIRVs, marking the first use of such technology in direct confrontations between Tehran and Tel Aviv.
So these are Iranian missiles, but the Houthis used them on their last attack 2 days ago.
According to Israeli defense analyses, these advanced missiles carry multiple warheads capable of simultaneously hitting different targets, making interception more difficult and multiplying their destructive power.
Now, the reason why this is a problem for the Israelis, guys, is because, as you guys know, the Israelis rely heavily upon their Iron Dome, David Sling, and I can't remember the third missile defense system. And they also have a THAAD that we gave them as well. So anything that can get around it or make it harder for them to shoot these missiles down is very bad. And Iran has a lot of these missiles, a lot of them. And that's why they were able to hit Tel Aviv, despite the fact that they had the U.S. warships, they had their own missile defense system, they had the Jordanians scrambling, they had the British helping, they had the French helping. All these different countries were helping Israel, but they still were able to get missiles through to hit them.
Military sources indicate this sophisticated
Yes, the arrow, yeah. David Sling, the Iron Dome, and then the arrow. Yep, there you go. Thank you.
technology explains the widespread damage inflicted on multiple Israeli sites at once, including the severe destruction in Tel Aviv and Beersheva. Defense experts warn that Iran's deployment of such missiles represents a serious escalation in Iranian military capabilities, presenting new challenges to Israel's Iron Dome systems, which struggled against this type of attack. While Iran has not officially commented, sources close to the IRGC suggest these weapons were domestically developed as part of Iran's deterrence program.
Yes, Iran makes a lot of its own missiles, guys, and they make a lot of their own drones. They give a lot of their drones actually are being used in the Russia-Ukraine war. And the thing is with Iran, guys, is their ballistic missile program is one of the best in the world, right? One of the best in the world. Obviously, their Air Force is good and stuff like that because a lot of their fighter jets are from like the 70s during the Nixon era when the Shah bought these fighter jets. Actually, Scott Horn talked about that today. With the Lex Friedman podcast. But yeah, so they rely heavily upon their ballistic missile program to attack their enemies. They got hypersonics, drones, cruise, any type of missile you guys can think about, they got them.
The regional military landscape is at a turning point. Are we witnessing a fundamental...
So basically, the Iranians put this stuff to use 2 months ago during the 12-day war. Now, the Houthis have been using these missiles for the first time a couple of days ago. That's from the explosion we saw earlier.
After powerful Israeli strikes on Nasser Hospital in southern Gaza, men, women and children run for their lives. Just moments earlier, the smoke above the building has barely cleared. But the blood from a first attack is all too visible on a medical uniform, as the doctor holding it up then cowers in fear. A second Israeli strike in the same spot.
Bro, every day, guys, imagine just getting bombed every day like this, dude.
Causing further catastrophic damage, distress, and...
Dude, look at that, man. What the fuck, bro?
Death. With the details captured by cameras and eyewitnesses alike.
And these are aid workers, bro. Those aid workers we saw earlier.
While everyone was doing his job, then a very big airstrike happened in one of the building of Nasser Hospital.
And then apparently someone said that Netanyahu said it was a mistake. Bruh. Oh, my bad, dog. Didn't mean to blow you up there. What the fuck, bro?
It shook the hospital.
Among those killed, alongside medical staff and rescue workers, were, yet again, members of Gaza's media. All of them considered civilians under international law.
The room where the journalists were there, like many journalists have been killed, you wouldn't recognize them. They all burned, and many of them are in pieces.
Outrage at this hospital horror only heightened with the death of so many media workers.
It's another targeted killing, another murder of journalists, part of an overall strategy from the Israeli army to target journalists in order to reach a kind of a blackout of the information in the Gaza Strip.
Monday's murdered journalist included Al Jazeera's Mohammed Salama, Miriam Abu Daqqa, who contributed to the US news agency The Associated Press, and Hussam al-Masri, a cameraman contracted to UK-based Reuters. The Israeli military says it's ordered an investigation into the incident and, quote, regrets the deaths of uninvolved civilians. Willem Martz, Al Jazeera.
Don't miss out.
Absolutely nuts, chat. All right. Jesus the Kid 02 says, it's always a mistake, according to Netanyahu. What would it take for him or Israel to finally be held accountable? Every time someone from the U.S. addresses one of their mistakes, they just brush it off like it's nothing. It's getting very tiresome. Bro, I'm telling you, bro, until we stop running cover for them, they're never going to be held accountable. That's the problem. That's the problem.